Marcelito Pomoy had always believed that the world had two types of listeners, those who heard a voice and those who felt a voice. Growing up in the small, simple neighborhoods of the Philippines, he learned early that life didn't always give applause, and dreams didn't always come wrapped with encouragement. Yet every evening when the quiet rested over his home, he would sing not loudly, not boldly, but with a careful tenderness, as if afraid the world might interrupt. His life had been full of struggles, moments that would break most people, moments that made him wonder whether music was meant to be something he loved from afar but deep inside him. A voice, two voices really, kept whispering that someday, somehow the world would listen. The day Marcelito stepped onto the AGT Champions stage, he felt the weight of 1,000 memories pressing behind his ribs. The stage lights glared like suns overhead. The audience hummed with expectation, and the three judges, Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, watched with the expression of people waiting to be surprised. He stood in the center of that wide, almost intimidating stage, feeling both tiny and powerful at the same time. His heart thumped, not because he feared failure, but because this moment, this single performance, felt like a bridge between who he used to be and who he always wanted to become. He could almost hear the voices of people back home, cheering for him in spirit, wishing him strength for this defining moment. As the music began, there was a noticeable shift in the air, like the audience collectively inhaled and forgot how to breathe out. Marcelito closed his eyes for a split second, letting the first melody guide him, and when he opened them, he unleashed a voice so smooth, so steady that even the camera operators paused for a heartbeat. His tenor voice rose elegantly, filling the hall with warmth, with clarity, with a kind of emotional honesty that made spectators lean forward in their seats. People who had never heard of him were already mesmerized, and those who knew him were silently praying, knowing what was coming next. The sweetness of his tone, the effortless control, the purity, everything felt like it was building towards something extraordinary. And then, without warning, the entire audience gasped. Marcelito switched seamlessly, flawlessly to a soprano voice, so angelic that it almost didn't feel real. Some viewers blinked, convinced their ears were tricking them, while others exchanged looks of disbelief, whispering that no human should be able to do this. It wasn't just a high note. It was a complete transformation, as if an entirely different singer had taken over his body. The soprano climbed with impossible strength, echoing through the hall like a voice from another world. Even Simon Cowell, who rarely revealed shock on his face, lifted his eyebrows so quickly that the moment became instantly iconic, later turning into a meme, shared millions of times online. Around the stage, the judges tried to remain composed, but you could see the cracks forming in their expressions. Heidi clutched her chest, smiling as though witnessing something magical. Howie leaned forward, his mouth agape, trying to process how this man could possibly embody two singers at once. Simon, famously hard to impress, kept staring with a mixture of confusion, admiration, and something almost like disbelief. It wasn't just talent. It was a phenomenon, something rare enough to make people rethink what was humanly possible. Cameras zoomed in on the audience's faces, lit up with wonder as people stood from their seats, without even realizing they were rising, drawn upward by the sheer power of what they were hearing. The performance built like a story, with chapters unfolding one after another. And soon the impossible happened again. Marcelito switched voices mid-phrase, bouncing between tenor and soprano, as if flicking a light switch on and off. There was no hesitation, no trembling, no sign of strain. He moved with confidence, with control, with a mastery so profound that even the orchestra behind him felt secondary. Some viewers later said it felt like watching two souls share one body, like two spirits harmonizing inside him. His breathing technique, his vocal placement, his transitions, everything was so technically perfect that even professional vocal coaches later analyzed the video frame by frame, trying to figure out how he managed to pull it off. As Marcelito reached the big climax of the song, the room felt electrified. The high notes soared like a jet taking off, while the low notes grounded the audience emotionally, creating a breathtaking contrast. You could hear people whispering, "Oh my God, no way, how does he do that?" Throughout the hall, and for a brief moment, Simon Cowell, known worldwide for his tough critiques and his unforgiving standards, actually looked emotional. He tapped his pen against the desk slowly, his eyes fixed on Marcelito, with a seriousness that only appeared when he saw a performance that had the potential to become global. The moment felt heavy, powerful, unforgettable. When Marcelito sang the final note, holding it with absolute precision, every person in the audience rose to their feet. The applause wasn't just loud. It was explosive. People clapped until their hands hurt. Some even shouting his name, others wiping tears from their eyes. This wasn't the kind of applause politely given after a good performance. This was the kind that came from souls deeply moved, from hearts touched so profoundly that the energy in the room felt almost spiritual. Marcelito bowed humbly, hands pressed together in gratitude, trying to remain composed, though his eyes glistened with emotion. He had delivered his truth, his gift, his entire life story in the form of a song. And the world responded with love. The judges wasted no time. Heidi stood up first, applauding with pure admiration, telling Marcelito that his voice was like a miracle. Howie followed, saying that in all his years on the show, he had never seen anyone who could do what Marcelito just did, that his ability was beyond unique. It was historic. Then came Simon, the moment everyone waited for. The reaction that could change everything. Simon leaned forward slowly, adjusting his microphone, letting the suspense hang in the air. The audience quieted instantly. He told Marcelito that he didn't just perform. He created a moment that people would replay for years to come, a performance worthy of a global stage. He said he had never seen anything quite like him, that the world needed voices like his, and that Marcelito was without question one of the most extraordinary singers to ever appear on the AGT stage. The crowd cheered wildly because Simon's praise was the ultimate stamp of greatness. Even online, viewers later commented that Simon's reaction alone proved the brilliance of the performance. Clips of the moment began circulating within minutes, shared across social media platforms, spreading like wildfire. People from different countries, speaking different languages, were all united by one thing: shock and admiration for Marcelito Pomoy. The video would soon become one of the most replayed AGT Champions performances of all time, gathering millions of views in just a few hours, turning into a viral sensation overnight. But what truly made the moment unforgettable was what happened backstage afterward. As Marcelito stepped off the stage, heart pounding from the adrenaline and the emotional whirlwind, he was greeted by staff, contestants, and production members who rushed to congratulate him. Some told him they had been working on AGT for years and had never seen the judges react like that. Others said his performance made them emotional, even though they didn't understand the language of the song. That was Marcelito's power. He didn't need language because emotions traveled further than words ever could. Even a crew member, who usually remained silent during breaks, approached him saying he reminded her why she joined the entertainment industry in the first place. Meanwhile, out in the public area, people were still buzzing. Some viewers called their friends immediately, telling them to look up the performance. Others rewatched the clip they had just seen live, trying to understand how he pulled off something so technically complex. Even kids in the audience looked inspired, asking their parents how a person could sing two voices at once, while elderly fans stood shaking their heads, saying they had lived long lives but had never witnessed anything like this. It felt like a collective awakening, a shared realization that sometimes the world still had surprises left, beautiful surprises that reminded people of the magic hidden in human potential. The producers knew instantly that they had something extraordinary on their hands. Within minutes, they arranged additional interview segments, realizing viewers around the world would want to know more about the soft-spoken man with the miraculous voice. Marcelito answered every question with humility, never once bragging about his abilities. He talked about his life, his struggles, how he grew up separated from his parents, how music became his escape during painful times. When the interviewer asked him how he learned to sing with two voices, he gave a small smile and said he used to mimic the radio because he didn't have toys or gadgets. The world loved him even more for it. Later that night, Simon Cowell returned backstage briefly, something he didn't often do. Marcelito was talking with staff when Simon approached him with a sincere expression. He told Marcelito that he had one of the most unique gifts he had ever heard, and that if he kept going, if he continued sharing his music, the world would follow him. Marcelito nodded, humbled, overwhelmed, trying hard not to show how deeply Simon's words affected him. For someone who had once struggled simply to survive, hearing praise from one of the toughest judges in the world felt like a dream he never dared to dream. When the episode finally aired on television and online platforms, everything exploded. In just the first few hours, the clip reached millions of views. Celebrities reposted it. Reactors made videos analyzing every vocal switch. Vocal coaches explained the impossible technique behind his dual voice, and fans from dozens of countries began leaving comments in their own languages. Some wrote that they didn't understand the words, but felt the emotion in every note. Others shared personal stories, how the performance helped them through anxiety, how it inspired them, how it made them cry in the best way. The impact was universal and immediate. But one moment stood out. A young girl from Brazil posted a short comment, saying that she had been feeling hopeless in her singing journey, believing she would never be good enough. But after watching Marcelito, she realized that unique voices deserved to be heard, that she didn't need to sound like everyone else. Her comment gained thousands of likes. More stories like hers followed. People connecting to Marcelito, not just for the performance, but for the message behind it. That your uniqueness is your power, that your struggles can become your strength, and that your voice, literal or metaphorical, has a place in this world. As days went by, the performance didn't slow down. It grew. Reaction channels on YouTube started popping up everywhere, with creators from Italy, Russia, India, the UK, and the Middle East filming their stunned reactions. Most of them showed the same pattern: open mouths, widened eyes, and hands flying to their heads in disbelief. Many paused the video midway, checking live whether it was actually one person singing. The performance became a global reaction phenomenon, and Marcelito Pomoy's name trended in multiple countries simultaneously. Even people who had never watched AGT before were now tuning in just to see the man with the dual voice. Producers later said privately that Marcelito had changed the energy of the entire season, raising the bar for every contestant who performed. After him, some contestants admitted they felt nervous following his act, knowing that the audience was still buzzing from what they had just witnessed. But rather than creating tension, Marcelito's humility and kindness backstage inspired them. He encouraged other singers, telling them to give their best and never compare themselves to anyone else. He understood that every voice was special, every dream valid, every story worth telling. When Marcelito later returned for another performance on AGT Champions, the anticipation was sky high. The audience buzzed like a hive, waiting for another magical moment, and the judges smiled knowingly, already expecting greatness. Even before he sang a single note, the crowd cheered, welcoming him back, as if he were a champion returning home. And once again he delivered, switching voices effortlessly, blending styles, reaching notes that seemed impossible. Though this script focuses on the initial performance, the momentum he built continued long after, shaping his legacy on the AGT stage. And yet, no matter how viral the performance became, no matter how many millions of people shared his videos, Marcelito remained the same, humble man from the Philippines who once sang quietly in small rooms, hoping someone would hear him. Now the world heard him loudly, clearly, passionately. And more importantly, the world felt him. His journey became a living reminder that talent can come from the most unexpected places, that greatness can rise from hardship, that the human spirit can shine even in the darkest conditions. In the end, Marcelito Pomoy didn't just shock Simon Cowell. He didn't just stun the judges. He didn't just go viral, he touched hearts, moved souls, and proved that some stories aren't written in words. They're written in voices. His dual voice became more than a talent. It became a symbol of resilience, of hope of the incredible things people can achieve when they hold on to their dreams, no matter how impossible they seem. And as the world continues to watch his performance, replaying it over and over again, one thing remains certain: Marcelito's voice. Both of them will echo for generations.